After the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, Afghans fled gunfire and chaos in hopes of escaping the Taliban.
I really don't know what to say, what's going to happen, and it's all very uncertain.
They crowded in planes, leaving their homeland behind. Mothers, fathers, and children now finding refuge in the U.S.
The resettlement journey it's really complicated, it's really tough, and people are coming from, a lot of trauma.
And even with the many struggles ahead, they are finding peace, safety, and a new place to call home in the Bay Area.
They are coming to Fremont because they feel like home. They feel like they are with their community and they are not alone.
Welcome to this special program presented by KTVU, Finding Refuge, Afghans in the Bay Area. I'm Greg Lee. In late August, the U.S. military completed its withdrawal from Afghanistan after 2 decades. For thousands of Afghans, the abrupt departure forced many to leave their home country, seeking refuge in the U.S., many of them in the Bay Area. We endeavor over the next half hour to share some of the stories of struggle and relief as families work to resettle while trying to help loved ones through a difficult process. All this while watching as the Taliban quickly took over. I spoke with Rona Popel, the executive director of the Afghan coalition in the East Bay, about the current situation in Afghanistan.
We all still, believe me, we are in shock. And we cannot even say what happened or how happened and why the president ran away. These are all for us is a question. And still we are looking to find out the answers. We are looking to see how we're going to do it again and how we're going to help Afghanistan and how we're going to, the future, the hopes that these people, and especially young people in Afghanistan had, completely destroyed. And it's something, I just talked to one of my friends and I said, you know what? 3 months ago I had a hope for Afghanistan and now I really don't know what to say, what's going to happen, and it's all very uncertain.
The immediate focus for the Afghan coalition and other organizations in the Bay Area is helping a wave of evacuees resettle. Fremont and the surrounding areas are home of the largest number of Afghan refugees in the country.
Afghans have been resettling to the Tri-City and Fremont since late 70s. Especially the first wave of Afghans came to the United States when the Russians take over Afghanistan. And that was the first wave of refugee of Afghan to the United States. And these were all the people, professionals, technocrats, the people who work with the government of the Afghanistan. They moved. So since that time, Afghans chose to live in California, and especially in Fremont, where the geographic of Fremont is the same, I can say, with Afghanistan. They are very strong, they are very hardworking people, and they are very good entrepreneurs. So since that time, they started their businesses. They started building their business, their mosque, and buying houses so they can settle in Fremont. Since that time, a lot of Afghans moving from other states, and they are coming to Fremont because they feel like home. They feel like they are with their community and they are not alone.
Little Kabul in Fremont has become a cultural hub for Afghan Americans. Popel said the coalition continues to work to get people here and out of Afghanistan. Home for the holidays takes on new meaning for newly arrived Afghan refugees. Their struggle to escape a crumbling country is only the first difficult step on a grueling journey toward normalcy, as KTVU South Bay reporter Jesse Gary shows us through the eyes of just one family settling in Fremont.
For Muhammad Sajjad and his family of 4, the American story starts in the cramped quarters of the Afghan Coalition office. The Fremont-based nonprofit helps new arrivals get squared away on paperwork.
The feeling inside is very happy, My children are happy, my wife is happy.
The family's 7,400-mile journey to the South Bay begins during the deadly and dangerous fall of Kabul. In the days leading up to the complete United States withdrawal of troops in August, the Taliban took control.
Honestly, I was shocked that it happened, but not surprised. Everything fell rapidly after that, and it made sense that that would happen so quickly.
In the chaotic scramble through Kabul's airport to board a flight, the couple's youngest daughter, Manira, was injured.
As a mom, to see my daughter in that pain, I had to just swallow it and continue to tell myself that this is temporary pain and we will get through this.
The foursome did escape, flying first to Qatar for 80 days, where the U.S. has set up evacuation resources. Then from Qatar to a military base in Wisconsin for 2 months, and finally to Fremont at the beginning of November. The Afghan coalition arranged an Airbnb as a temporary place to stay, as Sajjad looks for work as an electrical engineer.
There's a saying that we say in Farsi, if I cannot help my country, the closest is helping my people. We are that bridge to help families settle and have an easy transition to this new life.
On this day, the transition appears complete. A family of 4 grocery shopping, kids quietly in tow. The Zamzam supermarket offers a taste of home for Fremont's Afghan population, one of the largest outside of Afghanistan.
Afghani people like the tea anytime.
New arrivals receiving help with food and housing is essential, but it's the housing that's the biggest question mark, because all of this help is temporary and they need to find permanent housing in a region gripped with a housing shortage.
We are facing, where do these families go, right? Living in the Bay Area is extremely expensive, and we're working with city officials to come up with some kind of plan for Afghans to settle.
Experts say continued uncertainty in Afghanistan will mean more families making the daunting trek from there to here.
I think that if they come, they're going to be staying here and becoming part of our culture, part of our country.
It's the latest twist on an old American standard. A family of 4 leaving family and friends behind as they settle in the land of opportunity. New lives forged by the struggle of escaping their old ones.
I thank God help for us. I feel very happy right now.
On assignment in Fremont, I'm Jesse Gary, KTVU Fox 2 News.
Efforts to evacuate Americans and Afghans out of country are ongoing. Secretary of State Antony Blinken recently said there is no deadline to this effort. And while hundreds of the Afghan evacuees have made their way to the Bay Area, the Biden administration reports about 45,000 are being housed in temporary camps on U.S. military bases around the country. Congressman Ro Khanna represents Fremont. He spoke to us about continued resettlement and evacuation efforts. You have been outspoken and extremely supportive of Afghan refugees coming not only to your district, but the state of California, to the U.S. You called it a moral responsibility to people in Afghanistan. Can you give us a little bit of an update as to getting those evacuees settled here?
Well, I'm so proud of the Afghan diaspora in my district, in Fremont and Hayward. It's right north of my district. Largest Afghan diaspora in the world is in our Bay Area. And they are in the medical profession, they are educators, they are artists, they are Uber and Lyft drivers. They are adding so much value to our community. And so I have said that we need to make sure that those who are coming here through the proper process are resettled, and that we are helping treat them fairly. I'm proud of my staff. We've helped dozens of families get here, and I'm confident now that the administration has a good system when they're in the United States of processing them, making sure that we're treating them humanely and helping them get started for an American life.
Congressman, last question. We know there are thousands of evacuees that are throughout bases throughout the country, perhaps still in country. So how important is it to continue to do that work to help families get out?
Very important. It's important to work to get them out of Afghanistan. There's still families there who need to escape, and we need to continue to work with the government there, the Taliban, to make it clear they shouldn't be harming any Afghan nationals and should be providing safe passage out. And then once they get out, those who qualify to come into the United States, we need to make sure they can get here to be reunited with their families. And we have an obligation to treat them well. I mean, some of these families fought with us. They relied on our promises. This is about America living up to our principles and our ideals. And we can be proud of the contributions the Afghan community will make to America. I know anyone who wants to see it can come to Fremont. I'm happy to take you through Little Kabul. It's a wonderful place. Or read The Kite Runner, and you'll get a sense of the extraordinary families, extraordinary communities they are, and very proud Americans.
Coming up, a translator for the U.S. killed in the bomb attack at the Kabul airport.
I heard the bomb blast, and I was shocked. I say, yes, something happened. Then I call again, no one answered the phone.
We'll hear from his cousin who lives in the Bay Area. We'll also look at answers being sought after America's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. The end of the U.S. military's involvement in the two-decade war marked by chaos and a complete takeover by the Taliban. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill have held several hearings, pressing top military officials about the planning, execution, and aftermath of the withdrawal. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated, but questions remain about Americans and allies left behind, and if it could have been better executed. Some Republicans are calling for the testimony of dozens of Biden administration officials dissatisfied with the answers they've gotten so far. Part of the investigation focuses on the Kabul airport bombing. As soon as the Taliban took over, thousands of Afghans flocked to the airport, many waiting there for days just to make it onto a flight out of the country. But just days before U.S. forces left Afghanistan, a suicide bomber, allegedly part of ISIS-K, set off an explosive at an airport entrance, causing mass carnage. More than 170 Afghans were killed, as well as 13 American service members, including 4 California natives. Just last week, the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a bill that would award the Congressional Gold Medal to all 13 for going above and beyond to protect U.S. citizens and allies and ensuring that they were brought to safety during an extremely dangerous situation. The bill now awaits President Biden's signature. An Afghan man who worked as a translator for the U.S. government was among those killed in the bombing. KTVU's Amber Lee talked to his cousin, a San Leandro man who was in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over, but was able to make it home.
He's very intelligent man. He was IT man. He's very smart.
Kiamuddin Safi tells me his 32-year-old cousin Badruddin was killed in the bombing attack Thursday at the Kabul airport. Safi says he was on the phone with Badruddin, who was trying to get inside when the attack happened.
I heard the bomb blast, and I was shocked. I say, yes, something happened. Then I call again, no one answered the phone.
Safi says his cousin's body was found hours later in a ditch with others, and that Safi's brother and another relative were injured during the bombing and taken to the hospital.
A strong feeling and pain inside.
He says Badruddin was a translator for the U.S. government. Safi says his relatives captured images of what people were experiencing at the airport, trying to leave Afghanistan before and after the bombing. Safi says he narrowly escaped Afghanistan himself, arriving back in San Leandro just last Friday.
Thank God I'm here back to my kids, but they're my family.
Grateful for his own safety, but his thoughts are with relatives still in Afghanistan. Heartbroken that his cousin Badruddin leaves behind 3 young children and an unfulfilled dream.
He was so sweet, and he loved his children, and always dream about America. I say, I want to go because I can have a good life. My kids can have a good life.
Amber Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Rallying to help refugees. Coming up, a look at the outpouring of support and supplies for Afghan families who have been forced to restart their lives from scratch. As soon as evacuation flights out of Afghanistan took off, Afghan Americans in the Bay Area began mobilizing to help people. Many mosques in Afghan communities have continued to work hard to collect and distribute relief supplies, housing, and support. The city of Hayward is also part of a coalition assisting refugees who continue to arrive in the area.
It was really overwhelming to get all the support and the love. I think it was like the light that we really needed, the beacon of light in such dark times.
A coalition of supporters has already raised $100,000 to help the new immigrants. Volunteers are also signing up to help with translation, housing, education, and support services as people arrive in the Bay Area. The city of Hayward created a website dedicated to helping Afghan refugees. Jewish Family and Community Services of the East Bay has a long history of providing support for Afghan refugees, but right now its services are in especially high demand. Senior Director of Development and Community Engagement, Holly Taines-White, described to me the services her group has been providing and the work ahead.
Can you just give us an update on some of the work you've been doing, the number of families you've been able to help?
Yeah. So we were right in the midst of the response, sort of as soon as the first airlifts started, because really we've been working with the Afghan community and Afghan refugees for many years. So we were prepared, ready. We have Afghan refugees on staff who can help walk this journey with our clients. So yeah, we were kind of right there from the beginning. And since August, we have now resettled about 215 Afghan refugees in just 3.5 months. So it has been really busy and a lot of people coming in.
For people that don't know at home, can you explain some of the things that you're helping these families with?
The resettlement journey is, it's really complicated. It's really tough. And people are coming from, a lot of trauma. And so they've got all that to deal with as well. So what our staff does is we're just like alongside them as they're kind of getting to know the community and really understanding how to work here. And accessing services is like really a big piece of it. So in the beginning, like we're helping people sign up for Social Security and enroll their children in schools and sign up for medical services and mental health services, and they have access to food benefits while they're waiting for employment and stuff. So we kind of help them access like this huge range of services that will really sort of support them as they're first getting started here.
Can you talk about your continued preparations for more people to continue to come and look to you for help?
Yeah, it's interesting because there was this, like right when Kabul fell and there's all these airlifts, there was a big surge, like people got out, got into communities and all this stuff. And then like these, some of the evacuations ended up going to these military bases. And our understanding is there's probably still around 50,000 people on military bases in the United States, and then other people in other bases around the world. And so really, we're gonna see like a continued surge, and we're even kind of experiencing that right now. It's almost like a second surge from the surge we had in August, where there's the military is processing people through these bases now and sending them out to local resettlement agencies like ours. So the numbers are actually kind of picking up now. It's like more now than it was 2 months ago. So really we are seeing many families arriving every week, and just are preparing for more. Financial donations piece is in some ways really the most important at this point, because we have been inundated with sort of the in-kind donations and this stuff, because that's what helps us kind of keep going. It helps us have staff and be able to actually provide all the services that we need to do.
The Noor Islamic and Cultural Community Center in Concord is another local organization that's been helping Afghan families. It's been giving out care packages filled with clothes, blankets, pillows, car seats, and other basic needs, along with a $200 cash donation per family. The center has helped 270 refugees so far, but more donations are needed. Organizers there in Concord also plan to host a Thanksgiving dinner for refugees tomorrow. Starting over in the Bay Area after fleeing violence in Afghanistan.
It was morning and the Taliban came from the back, from the back of their house, and then they started shooting.
Coming up here, one family described their dramatic escape from the war-torn country, the challenges as they try to build a new life. There are thousands of harrowing stories from Afghan refugees who fled home and have found their way to the Bay Area. KTVU's Rob Roth spoke to one family who's finding the strength to start over.
For this family, home is Afghanistan. They just can't live there anymore.
Before the Taliban, we have a good life in Afghanistan.
But they had to flee that good life when the Taliban took over Afghanistan. The family arrived in the Bay Area just 2 weeks ago. Now the Fazilis, a family of 8 that includes 2 young girls, are staying temporarily in this house in Hayward, donated by Airbnb. We asked what the Taliban would do if they returned home.
Kill us.
They would kill you?
Yes.
Sarah Fasili says that's because she worked in media in Afghanistan, often publicly encouraging women to be independent and to stay strong. That is counter to the Taliban position. Other families work with the Americans, another taboo. In August, armed members of the Taliban came to her family's home in Kabul.
It was morning and the Taliban came from the back, from the back of their house, and then they started shooting.
One of those gunshots killed a man who was staying with the family. The girls, ages 7 and 4, were not injured.
They are crying, Mom, Taliban, who's Taliban? And she's just crying.
The girl's grandmother told us through an interpreter she was terrified.
She was extremely scared for her life. Especially when she saw first-handed the Taliban coming to her home and shooting. She was there.
Mina Amin was once a school teacher, and when the Taliban came to power the first time, she did something extremely dangerous.
She would wear the burqa and secretly leave and meet these girls at a particular home and teach them.
The family decided then to head for the airport immediately. No time to pack or get their money out, just go. They spent 3 nights at Kabul airport amid the chaos. More gunfire.
She's my mother, she's my daughter. I'm crying because of my daughter.
The plane eventually took them to the processing center at Fort Bliss in Texas. There was no more gunfire, but the family says the accommodations were atrocious. Scorpions roamed the area.
The food that they received were not for humans. It was like for an animal.
After 6 weeks, the family arrived in the East Bay. They are one of about 20 families who made it here from Afghanistan, receiving help from the Afghan Coalition and other nonprofit organizations that are assisting in this humanitarian crisis until the families can get on their feet.
Unfortunately, the Bay Area is extremely expensive. Therefore, it's very difficult to find sufficient homes for the families to be able to afford and to stay.
I have everything in Afghanistan, money, car, everything, but I start my life from new here.
The family says the Taliban will likely take their possessions. That means a new start in a new world.
My daughters, me, my husband, whole family want to stay in this place and in the United States and work and educate and have a good life in here.
In Hayward, Rob Roth, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
For more information on how you can help Afghan refugees, just go to ktvu.com. We've posted a link to all the organizations we mentioned this past half hour on the web link section of our website.